I'm David Toman, author of nootropicsexpert.com. This video is a guide to the best lab tests you can order to help you tweak and build your nootropic stack. I'll cover which tests you should ask for and which tests are a waste of time and money. In my many years of biohacking and using nootropics to optimize my brain, I have found basic blood work is fundamental to measuring my success. Lab tests give me a more accurate window into what these supplements are doing to my body and brain, more so than simply relying on how I feel. Now, if you've been using nootropics for any length of time, you may have wondered how to go further in reaching your biohacking goals. Blood tests and other lab work can go a long way in helping refine your nootropic stack. Doing blood work on a regular basis, even when you're not sick, gives you the ability to find out if you're going in the right direction. Nootropics affect more than just your brain. Supplements affect the rest of your body as well. Basic blood work will tell you about hormone levels, inflammation, vitamin mineral levels, and how your organs and glands are doing. This gives you the ability to eliminate the guesswork by getting real data about your body. If something shows up that's out of range, you can then take steps to correct it, often by simply modifying your nootropic stack. You can take a proactive approach and prevent major problems from ever happening. So this video is about the types of lab work available and what types of tests you may want to consider. For neurohackers, information provided by blood tests are vital to optimizing both mental and physical performance. You get accurate data on specific biochemistry and how your body is responding to changes in diet, lifestyle, and the nootropic supplements you're taking. Basic blood work will give you a window into inflammation, blood health, thyroid health, vitamins and mineral levels, adrenal gland, kidney, and liver health, and hormone health. There is the temptation, especially when you're early in your neurohacking journey, to go after specialized tests, like having your neurotransmitters tested. Now, I'll cover those next. While the big basic tests may not be nearly as exciting, they tell you volumes about your body and overall health, especially cognitive health. Our primary goal in brain optimization typically has to do with altering brain chemistry. In fact, studies estimate that 86% of Americans have low neurotransmitter levels. Suboptimal neurotransmitter levels are caused by stress, poor diet, neurotoxins, faulty genes, prescription and recreational drugs, alcohol, and caffeine. Now that sounds like most of us, right? So it seems reasonable that we could get a more accurate picture of what's going on in our brain if we get our neurotransmitter levels tested. It turns out that most neurotransmitter lab tests are useless, and here's why. The least expensive and most common lab test advertised is neurotransmitter urine tests. The problem is that there is nearly zero correlation between neurotransmitter levels in your brain and the rest of your body. The neurotransmitters in your brain are primarily synthesized in the neurons in your brain. These brain chemicals never make it to your kidneys for urine output. For example, most of the serotonin in your body is produced in your gut and are produced by bacteria, not neurons. Now, it's absolutely true that this serotonin can affect anxiety, depression, and overall mood, but this brain-gut connection, which I've written about earlier and I've done videos on, which I'll link to below this video, they cannot be accurately measured by reading levels of serotonin, because much of the serotonin goes directly to your kidneys and is excreted in urine, not how much serotonin is present in your brain. Now, the microbiome in your gut manufactures more than 30 neurotransmitters, including serotonin, which take care of other bodily functions, but also send messages to your brain, affecting anxiety, stress, learning and memory, decision-making, and depression. Measuring neurotransmitter levels in your urine from neurochemicals synthesized in your gut give no indication on what's going on in your brain. Now, another problem with urine testing is the half-life of many of these main neurotransmitter molecules. Serotonin has a half-life of 1 second, others a fraction of a second. Then you may have issues with damaged, depleted, or non-existent neuroreceptors, or other compounds bound to these receptors rather than the intended neurotransmitter. Now, one final note on neurotransmitter urine testing. Research has verified that urinary neurotransmitter testing is not an accurate way to test levels in your brain. And saliva neurotransmitter tests are as unreliable as urine testing. The only method left is serum or blood testing for neurotransmitters. Now, while this is considered more accurate than urine or saliva testing, it still doesn't tell you much because your neurotransmitter levels vary by the hour and by the day. But all is not lost because we have other ways to measure our biohacking progress in the lab. Those of us interested in neuro and biohacking have found that a basic battery of tests performed at least annually give us a clear picture of our physical and psychological health. Here, we'll take a brief look at the most common blood tests and why they matter to your neurohacking success. The blood chemistry panel, or the CBC panel, provides a wide range of information about our heart, endocrine, glucose levels, gallbladder and bile ducts, and kidney function. This panel tells you about the presence of anemia, infectious organisms, nutritional deficiencies, lymphatic issues, and blood disorders. For example, when something is wrong with your blood, it will affect your total health, including brain function. Anemia will cause weakness, fatigue, dizziness, and headache, typically caused by low iron levels. A problem with your kidneys can show up as low or high sodium, potassium, and chloride ions. Ion channels and their associated ions directly influence how each of your neurons communicate and use these neurotransmitters. Abnormally low RBC levels could indicate deficiencies in iron, folate, vitamin B6, and vitamin B12. The last three are directly tied to the synthesis of most of your major neurotransmitters and easily corrected with the use of nootropic supplements. Now, increased levels of WBCs like lymphocytes, monocytes, neutrophils, and basophils are typically associated with bacterial, viral, parasitic, or protozoal infections. Supplementing with iodine, St. John's wort, or mucuna pruriens can kill bacteria, fungal infections, and viruses. DHEA measures your adrenal function. Low levels of DHEA show up as memory loss, depression, Alzheimer's, and chronic inflammation, and other problems. Adding DHEA to your nootropic stack may be all you need to improve memory and mood. This hormone level check is particularly important for aging men and women after menopause. In men, increased levels of estradiol and decreased levels of testosterone usually indicate low libido and difficulty urinating. Other symptoms include excess fat, brain fog, depression, and fatigue. Excess homocysteine is an important risk factor for heart disease and stroke. Research shows that elevated homocysteine levels in those with depression are a result of too little folate. Adding vitamin B6, B9, and B12 to your stack may be all you need to improve your mood and bring homocysteine levels down. C-reactive protein, or CRP, is a very powerful indicator of inflammation both in your body and brain. Elevated levels of C-reactive protein are implicated in developing type 2 diabetes, loss of information processing, recall and memory ability, even in healthy people, and Alzheimer's and depression. Here again, nootropics come to the rescue. Vitamin B8, or inositol, and rhodiola rosea have been found to repair and prevent damage caused by elevated C-reactive protein and free radicals. Pro-inflammatory cytokines, tumor necrosis factor A, interleukin-1 beta, interleukin-6, and interleukin-8 regulate C-reactive protein, and knowing them may help identify the cause of inflammation. These cytokines are cellular growth factors that are synthesized in nearly every cell in your body, generally only in response to stress. There is growing evidence that elevated levels of the pro-inflammatory interleukin 6, or IL-6, could predict your potential for depression. Excess pro-inflammatory cytokines can cause severe inflammation, leading to diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. They can deplete neurotransmitters, which lead to cognitive decline, and excess cytokines can result in brain fog, anxiety, depression, fatigue, and overall poor mental performance. Now, adding artichoke extract, or luteolin, cat's claw, ginseng, L-glutamine, oat straw, SAM-E, vitamin B3 or niacin, vitamin B6 or vitamin B8 or inositol, and N-acetyl-L-cysteine or NAC to your nootropic stack can keep pro-inflammatory cytokines under control. But make sure you review each nootropic article because certain nootropics may only control one or two of these inflammatory cytokines. So find out which ones work for what's indicated in your lab tests or blood work. Vitamin B9 or methylfolate and vitamin B12 or methylcobalamin are required for the synthesis of the neurotransmitters dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Deficiencies in both vitamins are due to poor absorption in the gut, pancreatitis, tapeworm, or high alcohol consumption, just to name a few. Vitamin B12 can only be obtained from food through animal sources, so is a problem for vegetarians and vegans. Now, folate deficiency is common in those with problems with the MTHFR gene. This enzyme is needed to convert folic acid and food folate into a form that your body can use. Up to 60% of people have issues with the MTHFR gene. Did you get that? 60%. So you've got a 6 out of 10 chance of having problems with that gene and having problems with vitamin B6 and B12. Both of these vitamins are easy to check with a blood test, and lacking in either of these vitamins reduces the efficacy of your entire nootropic stack. And for a few cents a day, you can support the investment you've made in your daily stack. Fasting serum insulin is used to measure insulin sensitivity and resistance. Insulin resistance in our modern world is affecting people of every age group. One study was done at the University of Michigan in 2006 with 4,902 people, and they were aged 12 to 19, so they were young people. Weight status was the largest indicator of who was going to be insulin resistant. In this study, the prevalence of insulin resistance in obese kids was 52.1%. Insulin resistance often results in anxiety and depression. One study showed that altered metabolism in mitochondria. The scientists found that mitochondria increased the production of two enzymes that degraded dopamine. So dopamine was metabolized faster and didn't last as long in the brain, resulting in anxiety and depression. Now, we know that insulin helps control levels of blood sugar by helping cells to take in sugar through cellular membranes. And insulin secretion is regulated by hormones in the hypothalamus region of your brain. Researchers are just recently discovering that specific insulin receptors in regions of the brain have different effects. For example, insulin receptors in the hippocampus are involved in learning and memory. The many ways that insulin can affect cognition are just being discovered. And I'll write about and do videos about these discoveries as they happen in future videos and articles over on Nootropics Expert. For now, I highly recommend that you get your fasting insulin checked if you're serious about brain optimization. Find a good naturopathic doctor to help you interpret the results and provide recommendations on how to reverse insulin resistance. To start, you can add ashwagandha, berberine, and magnesium to your nootropic stack to help lower blood sugar levels and for insulin resistance. Insulin-like growth factors, or IGF-1 and IGF-2, are proteins, and their receptors are part of a complex system used to help cells in the central nervous system communicate. IGF-1 are involved in neuron survival, neurogenesis, excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmission, regulation of food intake, and cognition. Recent research has found a link between brain insulin and IGF-1 in certain neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's. You can increase insulin-like growth factor by adding acetyl-L-carnitine or ALCAR and pterostilbene to your nootropic stack. Thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH, is secreted by your pituitary gland, which controls thyroid hormone secretion by your thyroid. Your thyroid then releases T4 and T3 and free T3. Iodine is the essential trace element that combines with amino acid tyrosine to form thyroid hormones T4 and T3. T4 contains 4 iodine atoms, and T3 contains 3 iodine atoms. The problem is, unless you have symptoms for hypo or hyperthyroidism, it's unlikely that your doctor will order a thyroid panel for you, unless you ask them specifically. Now, most doctors are trained and don't know any better than to simply order a TSH blood test. Measuring TSH is not a reliable way to assess the health of your thyroid. Why is this important? You could be dealing with thyroid problems and not be aware of it until symptoms get severe. In my case, I ended up in the ER with what I thought was a heart attack. It turns out I was hypothyroid. Thyroid problems can be caused by a host of things, but the most common is an iodine deficiency. Insufficient iodine is not only a problem in developing countries, studies have found this holds even in Western countries, like the United States and Canada. Iodine deficiency has become a critical health problem worldwide. This is especially critical for anyone working on optimizing your brain. Within your brain, T4 is converted to T3 by selenium, which then affects gene expression, controlling metabolism within cells, and it activates the catecholamines dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, or adrenaline. A malfunctioning thyroid caused by iodine deficiency results in brain fog, poor cognition, difficulty learning, problems with recall, depression, and anxiety. All symptoms that I personally experienced until I got my thyroid levels back in line. Now, it would take pages and just hours in video to explain the importance of correctly reading a thyroid panel. If you have a feeling for any reason that you could have thyroid issues, I highly recommend Janie Bowthorpe's book, Stop the Thyroid Madness. That was my Bible when I was getting better. I'll provide a link to it below this video. As a neurohacker, you have several options for maintaining thyroid health. By far, the easiest thing you can do is to add iodine to your nootropic stack. Lab tests for testosterone, estradiol, and other sex hormones in men, and testosterone and estrogen in women are also important to check, and all have an influence to varying degrees on cognitive function. Low testosterone in men and women, for example, can have a profound effect on anxiety, depression, and memory. While nootropics cannot directly raise levels of things like testosterone, you need to be aware of their importance for brain optimization and to see a hormone replacement specialist if you suspect or know that you are low in either hormone. Traditionally trained doctors accept imbalances in many key blood tests as a part of natural aging. Their only concern is when your result may be outside of the normal lab reference range. Now, the problem with this normal reference range is that they are based on average populations rather than optimal levels that you need to maintain good health, and for brain optimization, these levels only tell you whether you're alive or not. Now, a perfect example of this is for men who typically suffer with excess production of insulin and estrogen, along with simultaneous deficiencies in testosterone and DHEA. And this is happening to younger and younger men. If your regular doctor used the standard reference range and your labs came back at the low end of the standard range, you would not feel well. but your doctor would declare nothing's wrong with you. Now, the same thing is happening to both men and women with thyroid testing. A recent study at Stobe Hill Hospital in Glasgow found that patients who were hypothyroid were considered within normal TSH reference ranges, but they were psychologically impaired. I learned this through much trial and error, a few years of feeling like crap, firing no less than 6 or 7 endocrinologists and a few doctors. And this led me to doing my own research and learning how to read my own lab results. And I encourage you to do the same. Find out exactly what is going on in your body and brain with the tools you have available to you. Learn to read your own labs. I can't say that enough. Because if you don't know what to do with your results, then what good is the test? Keep at it until you achieve the results you want. I did. And this is the best I've felt in years. And you can too. So that's my report on lab tests. If you want to read the full transcript for this video on my website, you'll find a link to it below this video. You'll also find dozens of articles on all the most popular nootropics on Nootropics Expert. Now, if you have any questions or you want to share your experience with the lab tests you have had done, please use the comment section below this video, or at the bottom of my Neurohackers Guide to Lab Tests article over on Nootropics Expert. I do my best to respond to comments and questions as quickly as I can. Now, if you haven't already, download your free copy of Secrets of the Optimized Brain. It's nearly 100 pages and contains details in 92 of the most popular nootropics used today. And consider getting a copy of my book Head First, The Complete Guide to Healing and Optimizing Your Brain with Nootropic Supplements. Head First is nearly 600 pages and the best guide on the planet for fixing and optimizing your brain. Now, if you could use some personal help with choosing the right nootropics or figuring out how to deal with your own brain health issues, consider booking a personal consultation with me. You'll find a link to my calendar below this video. If you want to see more videos on all the best nootropics used today, subscribe to this channel before you leave. I'll be putting up new videos on nootropics and optimizing your brain every week. I'm David Toman, author of Nootropics Expert.